Hello and welcome to our Lent series for 2023, considering people who encountered Jesus. Today's day 9, and we start to look today at a series of people who encountered Jesus when they were in need. And the first of these is a man who had leprosy. In Matthew 5 to 7, we have what is known as the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus gives some of his most well-known teaching. Immediately afterwards, as he comes down from the mountain, among the crowd, a man with leprosy approaches him. We read about it in Matthew 8, which says, "When Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, 'Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean.' Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. 'I am willing,' he said, 'be clean.' Immediately he was cleansed from his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, 'See that you don't tell anyone, but go show yourselves to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them.'" Despite what is often said about true leprosy, otherwise known as Hansen's disease, it is actually quite hard to catch it. It's actually considered one of the least infectious communicable diseases. Studies have shown that on average it takes about 8 years of living in close proximity with someone who has been infected to stand much chance of catching it. However, once caught, particularly in that first century environment, there was no effective treatment. As the disease progresses, nerve endings in fingers and toes lose their sensation. Sufferers would cut or injure themselves without even being aware of it, leading to deformity, infection, and eventually death. Such was the fear of true leprosy, that almost any skin condition could be labelled as leprosy. Leviticus 13 has an extensive list of tests for every type of skin disease to see if it would be classed as leprosy or not. Anyone failing these tests would be declared a leper. Anyone with that diagnosis had more than just the effects of the illness to deal with. They would also experience social separation, removed from the community, away from family and friends. The only company they would be able to keep was with other lepers. They would also experience spiritual separation. The fact that they had leprosy would mean they would be declared unclean. The spiritual life of the Jewish community revolved around the temple and the annual festivals, and there was no way a leper would be allowed to participate in those, effectively separating them from God. In the account in Matthew 8, the leper is so desperate he ignores these social rules and seeks out Jesus in a public place. Evidently, Jesus' reputation had preceded him, and the man sees him as the only hope he has. He comes before Jesus and humbly asks to be made clean rather than to be healed. It shows the impact of being declared unclean had on someone in that community at that time. Jesus then does the unthinkable. He reaches out and touches the man. He is healed. Rather than Jesus being made unclean by touching a leper, the leper is made clean by the touch of Jesus. He's sent off to the priests, who, by the rules of Leviticus 13, must now declare him clean. And then he would make his offering a sacrifice and be allowed to re-enter the community. Jesus restores him socially. He can join back with society. He can meet with his family. He can meet with his friends once again. He's restored spiritually He could return to the temple and participate in the festivals again. We know nothing else about this man. We don't even know his name and what happened to him afterwards. But in Matthew 26, verse 6, we find that Jesus stays at the house of someone called Simon the leper in Bethany. As Matthew doesn't make a connection between the two, I doubt it's the same person. But this seems to be someone else who has been healed of leprosy. And though the name has stuck, Simon the leper, the disease has gone. Sin, like leprosy, separates us from each other and separates us from God. But when we humbly come to Jesus and ask him, he reaches out to touch us, cleanse us, heal us, and restore us. Some people might still associate us with the issues of the past, like Simon still being called Simon the leper. But in Jesus, we are set free from the past. We are restored in fellowship with one another and in fellowship with God. Hallelujah. Until next time, have a blessed day.